I like the mantra, power mkononi, or that's what this good gentleman told me. It fits perfectly with what we are all trying to achieve, a more empowered digital population with a capacity to explore all opportunities. So because we need a whole of society approach, and we must, this is our society, and every part of our society matters in making us a wholesome nation. Congratulations to all of you. My very best wishes to the investors in this facility, and I look forward to many more. I know there is a whole chain. We want now the parts that we are currently importing. The next stage is for us to manufacture many of the parts here in Kenya so that we create more industries to work with this as a value chain. And we must target that at least in the next 5 years, every Kenyan must carry a smartphone. And I also want to say that this importation of phones has given us a big problem. I know we are battling with KRA is having difficulties because many phones are imported through all manner of places. And our statistics is that close to almost 50% of all the phones imported into Kenya, people don't pay tax. So I think one way of closing that gap is to manufacture all phones locally. Ndio sasa mambo hiyo ya kuimport na kutumia panya route na kufanya nini, tukwamishe, vijana wetu wapate kazi, mimi nipate ushuru ya kusukuma Kenya mbele, na sisi wote tuendelee. The Hustler Fund has been able to serve millions of Kenyans from all walks of life, especially and consistently and conveniently and repeatedly, lending billions of shillings in unsecured loans and recovering it without need for drastic, expensive, or time-consuming procedures. We are going to celebrate 1 year anniversary of the Hustler Fund shortly, maybe next month. And we have wonderful stories. In fact, I had an occasion last week. You can see my hair is newly shaved. So my barber came to do some work on what is left of my hair. It is, and in the process, he asked me, Mr. President, you know, my savings on the Hustler Fund is now 5,600. Why is it the case that my limit is still at 5,000? Why don't you consider the fact that I have saved 5,000? Why don't you increase my limit? And it was a fundamental question. I have since put that question to the CS. I have put that question to Safaricom. I have put that question to all the other stakeholders in that space, because we need to answer that gentleman, because the next time he comes to visit me, I need to have answers for him. I was very honest with him. I didn't have an answer at that point. So, I mean, there are many Kenyans out there who truly know what it means to have access to affordable credit and how much difference it makes for their businesses. I wish you well. And even to my media guys, my friends, the good people who write many stories about me and all the other stories, and they are very good people because they are creative, they are innovative, you know, in what they do. I think I still see you guys with the iPads. You know, they are a bit old-fashioned. Not iPads, but, you know, writing pads. Now, this factory here can make for you digital pads. You know? Ndio muweze kuandika ile story. Digital pads. And muendelee kuandika tu story. This is good. It is okay. It's good for us. That's what society is made of. And You will never hear me complaining about your stories. Write them. Ile ya ukweli tutaendelea kusoma. Ile ambayo iko na maneno imeongezwa kachumbari tutasoma pia. Lakini we will stay focused because we must take the country where we all want it to be. And they are also making a contribution towards keeping us on the straight and narrow. Ile kitu tu mnawauliza kwa sababu sasa tumewatengenezea factory hapa itawapatia digital pads. Hata mimi mnikumbuke wakati mna tangaza dividends kwa mwisho wa mwaka. Hata mimi nitumie kidogo. At least nimewapangia kakitu. Si ndio? The government has increased the number of public services accessible through digital services to over 13,000, freeing up the people to concentrate on their lives and livelihoods and go about their business without the necessity of queuing, the necessity of traveling to try and access government services. And I must congratulate the Ministry of ICT working with the Ministry of Interior for what they are doing around that space. I did agree with them. I gave them some timelines on where we needed to move. I think many people did not believe that it was possible to move government services substantially to be available on the digital space. We had only 320 government services a year ago. Today we have 13,000, and we are well on course in making sure that by the end of this year or shortly thereafter, all government services will be available online. Already, the digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December, we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise, as an ID, that they should be able to be identified digitally using their iris or their fingerprints, and we can transact without the necessity of people struggling to identify who they are. And the proudest part of it is that we don't have to spend the billions that we have spent on all the other manenos, as all of you know. The plan has laid down the strategic framework of Kenyans to pursue their livelihoods and vocations more profitably and to access highly improved government services more conveniently and more affordably. So far, the response has been strong and encouraging. More land, for example, this year, was put under cultivation in this year's season, and more farmers received subsidized fertilizer and other inputs, and including extension services on a digital platform. For the first time, we managed to cut out brokers, we managed to cut out cartels who normally gave us so much problem whenever we had a subsidy program. They would buy subsidized fertilizer, repackage, and go and sell it. But this time round, technology helped us to deal with them. And they must be very sad people because they never got a chance to pilferage our fertilizer. And as a result, we have this year's maize harvest, for example, is going to be 15 million bags more than last year. Similarly, millions of hustlers have been able to register with the Hustler Financial Inclusion Fund and received affordable credit that is not necessarily secured by anything other than their ability and their credit rating in terms of how they pay. and they can now grow their credits, grow their businesses, and meet other financial needs. At the same time, we are now able to provide Kenyan learners all the way from early childhood development and education stage to the tertiary levels of university, various colleges and institutes, as well as technical and vocational education and training, with financial support and capitation in order to improve the quality of facilities, provide more teachers, improve the curriculum, and make education affordable in our institutions of learning. Mumesikia ya kwamba kuna nchi zingine wako na mbinu ya vile ya kuhakikisha kwamba tunarahisisha wananchi wengi waweze kufikia kununua hii simu na kufaidika na ile services yote iko ndani ya hiyo simu na capacities ya hiyo simu. So tumekubaliana na hawa wangwana tena warudi wapange mawazo yao na ideas na wasaidiane na wizara yetu ili kufikia Januari tuende katika hatua nyingine. Kwanza iwezekane kwamba mwananchi anaweza kulipa deposit ya hiyo simu na alipe ile Peter ananiambia kulipa mdogo mdogo. So hii simu ambayo ni ya karibu shilingi 7,500 kuanzia Januari tunataka iwezekane mwananchi alipe deposit ya 1,000 na hiyo ingine alipe polepole shilingi 20 kila siku tukienda mbele. Ndio wananchi wengi waweze kulipa hii simu. They told me, Mr. President, all you have said is very good, but you will have one challenge. That this digitization and technology journey has the challenge of the number of people who have smartphones. And they told me unless you sort out the question of smartphones, and not just the availability, but the affordability of the smartphone, you will continue to experience challenges in that space. And they told me they would do something about it, but they needed the support of government. And I did promise them then that because it was my priority agenda to make sure that every Kenyan has an opportunity to interact with technology and to benefit from the journey of digitization, that I would go out of my way. I did request them to invest. And thank you, gentlemen, for investing. That is the power of the private sector. But I told them, as they invest, as government, we're going to play our role. We're going to make sure that there is a fiscal environment, a business environment that supports investment. We did work with the Treasury, both on the local fiscal requirements and even the East African ones, as Joshua has said. And on top of that, I told them I will do the two things. I will make sure that government policy is supportive, and I also promise them that government will lead the way in being a market for your product. I am very proud that, gentlemen, you can confirm that I have kept my part of the bargain. I not only have provided the policy environment and necessary incentive for you to invest, but as my CS Health has said, we became the first customer, and we have bought from you 100,000 tablets that will be used by our community health promoters. And therefore, one of the most important commitments of my administration under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is to transform inclusion by taking every possible measure to ensure that every citizen has an opportunity to make their contribution to national growth and development, and also in many ways to benefit from that transformation.